Hello, Ken. How are you this fantastic afternoon?
Dan, it'd be better if I were on the beach with you, darn it, but I'm doing well. Thank you.
It only appears like I'm on the beach. And if you hear my voice, because most of the time you're not watching the video, you're just hearing my voice, and it might sound a little hoarse. That is because I went to a really significant football game this past weekend and was screaming and yelling for a certain team. But I won't tell you what game and who, because that might alienate some people who either really are like, wow, I like this person even more, or I do not like this person anymore because of the team that I was rooting for. But you know what, Ken? Good things. What is that all about?
Oh, Dan, first of all, we're going to increase your risk tolerance at some point in time for offending football fans. I know we're going to get there. Good things. Yeah, man, I think the past year has just been an example of what happens if we can allow ourselves to just be present to what's going on and to not judge the stuff that's coming in as good or bad or positive or negative, but instead just to take it all as feedback for what we're out there creating in the environment. And if it's what we're creating, then all of it is contributing to us. And like who you are today, who I am today, it's the sum total of everything that has come before in our lives, the sum total of our experience. And so when I started thinking about that, it freed me up. And there was this great sense of being able to let go and to just be evaluating stuff as it comes in. And I think the secret was staying in that space of it's all good. There are good things flowing in. There are good things coming. And I know I just said, we evaluate things good, bad, and 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 the like. But I think it's that mindset of what's happening is right for me. Maybe that's a better way to say it. What's happening is right for me. It's perfect for me at this point in time. If I can just allow that stuff that comes in to be evaluated somewhat dispassionately and then act on it. And what I found, especially over these past few months when I had a lot of no's, like people just kept saying no. It's like, it doesn't seem like it should be happening this way. Everything was flowing, and then there's this series of no's. But what happened at the end of that series of no's was a series of yeses that I could never have said yes to had those other responses been yes. They would have been okay, but they wouldn't have been great. And now I'm in the space of great because I went with it. I didn't try to fight against the no. And it may seem like this super obvious realization, but man, it hit me like a ton of bricks that just by going with the no, allowing it to happen, I got in the mood for what's next. There must be something else coming that's going to be perfect for me, that this is meant to prepare me for. And indeed, that's what's happened with my clients. That's what's happened in a couple of different areas of relationships with friends that all of a sudden have been elevated. And it's just because of that allowing and taking everything that comes in as coaching.
It's all good, man. So, for those who are Breaking Bad fans or watch Better Call Saul, the main character is Saul Goodman. And he said he made up that name because it comes from Saul Goodman, Saul Goodman. Anyway, that's what made me think of when I hear good things. And one of my favorite responses to something not going well is to say, it's all good. And the reason I do that has a couple layers, but the first layer has to do with the things that we say are both commands to our subconscious mind, but also commanding things to other people's subconscious minds. So typically when something doesn't go as planned and someone says, yeah, sorry about that, you say, don't worry about it. And then their brain, their subconscious mind part, thinks about how they maybe should be worrying about it, right? Even though you say, don't worry about it, they can't help but start to feel that, like that guilt, or like, they did something wrong that they should be worried about. So I just decide that anytime somebody says sorry or some version of that, that I just say, it's all good. It's all good. So what that does to me is it sends that signal to my conscious mind that everything is good, because I've said this many times and I believe it to be true, which is nothing has any meaning except the meaning that we give to it. That's across probably all the self-help books and stoicism and the history of people helping each other, right? With like mindset thinking, is it doesn't think something happened. Now, what just happened, we have to create a meaning for it. We have to decide what it is. So if you just decided that the meaning you give to everything is it's all good, it's all good, right? It's like, well, how could that be? Isn't something's different or better? Well, it's subjective, but yeah, some things are great, but at minimum, it's all good, right? Like good is almost like the basic standard. Now, how could that be? In my subjective response, I'd say it's all good because you are still alive, right? If you just take it to the super macro, it's like, if you're still alive and something happened to you, it's all good. And then sometimes it's really great and you're like, oh, that's great. But at minimum, it's all good.
It's often told story. I think it comes from the Taoist tradition about this farmer, and he has a horse, and the horse runs away. And the neighbor comes over. It's like, I'm so sorry about your horse. And the farmer says something to the effect of, well, who knows what's good or bad? And the neighbor's like, can't figure it out. Like, the horse ran away. Of course, that's bad. The next day, the horse comes back and he's got like 12 feral horses with him. And the neighbor's like, this is amazing. You've got 12 horses and congratulations. And the farmer's like, well, who knows what's good or bad? And his son is trying to train the horses, ends up breaking his leg. And the neighbor's like, I'm so sorry. It's so bad what happened to your son. And the farmer's just in that same space of who knows what's good or bad. The next day, the army's coming through and they're conscripting young men to go and serve, but his son was not able-bodied. So he didn't have to go fight in a war. And the neighbor comes by and tells him, this is fantastic news. Congratulations. And the farmer, again, is just in this space of who knows what's good or bad. And for me, this story just sums up like all this input comes, right? And I like the bottom line that you had, Dan. It's like, as long as we're still breathing, right, there is that measure of it is all good. We're breathing, we're alive, we're here, we're experiencing life, we're being contributed to, we're contributing. That is all always good. And the lesson from that story with the farmer is his ability just to be present to what was so without judgment, and to be open to the experience and to derive whatever he could from it. And I think that we spend so much time in our head, again, like you said, just assigning meaning and then playing out a future based on a meaning that we assign that may or may not have any basis in reality. We shut ourselves down to like what's happening right now. And in this moment, we have an opportunity to open ourselves up and just allow the now to occur. And to me, that's the only place. Like, if you're a person of faith, we've talked about this before, God just exists in the now. It's like right here, right now. And we miss that. We miss that connection with our fellow human beings. We miss the immediacy of what's happening. We just don't stay present to this moment. And the best way to do it is to let go of the judgment that we put on things so that we can appreciate what's happening now without judging it, knowing that if we're drawing our next breath, it's good.
We've all heard the saying, good things come to those who wait. And that is a very difficult one for me, because I say the alternate quote or phrase is to say, he who hesitates is lost, right? And those, I'd say, are conflicting beliefs that we have in our mind. And so the good things come to those who wait is a patience mindset. It accompanies a really famous one that I love, which is God's delays are not God's denials. So sometimes when we really want something, and maybe you follow that second phrase of he who hesitates is lost, you're really going at it. You're like, I'm going to seize this opportunity. I'm going to make it happen. And it doesn't work out for you. We tend to almost think like that. That's like, I guess if I get a person of faith, you're like, well, I guess God didn't want that for me. It wasn't God's will. It wasn't in the cards. It wasn't the plan for me. But you have to remember, good things come to those who wait. Is that true? Well, if you believe it to be true, it is. Because sometimes God's delays are not God's denials. He didn't necessarily deny you ever. He just denied you now, right? You went after something you really wanted. You didn't get it when you wanted to get it. But if you really want it and you believe that there's an alignment, maybe this is the part of your life plan or what God would want for your life, have that faith that like, I'm just going to continue to desire it, maybe pray for it, pursue it, do whatever you need to do, because good things can come to those who wait. And God's delays are not God's denials.
I think the other piece in this is that we transform over time too. So something that I may desire deeply right now, as I grow and mature, and as I gain new perspective and new experience and new understanding, sometimes the desire of my heart shifts. I've known that to be true over these 60 plus years of life. It changes over time. And I think to get into this kind of a concretized mindset where we think that what I want now is necessarily going to be what I want or what I think is best 10 years from now, 5 years from now, even next year, it sort of betrays the dynamic nature of life. It is changing. We are changing. We are growing. Every time we take a breath, every time we look at something anew, we have a new perspective. We've moved a little bit. It's that GPS analogy. When you engage it, you don't necessarily know the route if you're going to a new place, but you're not going to have the perspective of the journey until you actually start it. And what may happen along the way is that your perspective is going to change. And that may mean taking the analogy back to what we desire, what we want. That can change too. And just be open to that, to be open to how we grow with time and to not think that we're static beings is going to set people well ahead of where others might be. Something I struggled with a lot and something I continue to work through. But every time I manage to let go, every time I manage to just allow, something magnificent happens. It's almost like removing a block, and I can allow the river to flow again. Every time it's got to be this way. I've always wanted it this way. This is the desire I've always had. Even if I'm fighting against a new desire that's come up, simply because that's the way I thought it should go, things feel blocked and stagnant and just really uncomfortable. And when I pull that out, it is again like that stream just being cleared and fresh water is flowing and new clients appear and relationships are mended and healed. And I have a new vision for the future and my mood just generally increases. So don't block the future by being attached to the past.
So when something good is available to you, it's easy to feel as if like that he who hesitates is lost, that like seize the moment, like I need to grab it because this is so rare. But if you go back to it's all good, then you're switching your mindset from this scarcity of like, if I don't get the one good thing, when might I ever see a good thing again? You've transformed it to this abundance mindset of like, it's all good. Like there's just so much good available that I can truly believe in what I said last time, which is good things come to those who wait. Because if this isn't it, then maybe there's just so much good that's going to come later, that comes around after this. And so I'm going to use this analogy for, I always think it relates well for sales and for relationships, like dating relationships, that a lot of times the right mindset to have is actually looking for the no. You think that sounds really weird. It's like, because that is the thing we fear most, right? In sales, we don't want someone to reject our request to buy. And in a relationship scenario, dating, you don't want them to reject you, right? The continuation of whatever that was. And so if you think about it, though, that this isn't the one and only, this isn't the only good thing, but it's all good. There's so much good out there. There's like abundance of good. Then you're okay with the no. In fact, you're so okay with the no that you're almost like looking for it. When you hear it, you're like, yes. You can see it as almost like it gets you one step closer to the yes, right? That inevitably there's just like, yep, that was a chance. I went for it. I believed in it. And when the no happens, you're almost invigorated, like, cool, I'm one step closer to the yes, because there's so much good out there. There's so many good things that we have that abundance mindset. You can be excited and look for the no and just know you're one step closer to the yes.